Okay, we are here today with in Glenville, Georgia, to an event. And first of all, to the viewing audience, let me ask not Mr., but Reverend Zach Lodge, who have put all of this together, and to deal with why we are here today. And we hear a little music in the background, but we have to work around that. Zach, would you tell us why we are here today and how we put all of this, how you put this together? Tell us a little bit about the event.
We are here today to celebrate the birthday of Tunis Campbell, a former senator for Tattnall County. We asked certain folk that we knew that are very serious about the idea of making the lives of people better. So what we did was we invited Chester Dunham for one, because we knew he was with A. Phillips Randolph Institute. But the man to his left is named William Bill Phillips. William Bill Phillips and his wife Nan was invited because of the experience that he's had as a civil rights activist since 1961. And we are not talking about people who fade from view. We're talking about people who stay on the battlefield. We also have the man that we knew that was going to be able to bring attention to this program and the tyranny that we was going to get from this city here in Glenville. The sheriff came. I guess it was the sheriff. He came in a sheriff's car to shut us down. We have the right to peaceful assembly. We have the right to organizing. We have the right to make sure that we deal with the oppression of people everywhere. The diaspora is very, very serious about its changing diaspora, and we want to make sure that we work at doing that. That's why we're here today.
Okay, let me go to Reverend Phillips, because he impressed me a great deal today in his presentation. Him and his wife, especially during the civil rights struggle, and we are still in a battle with all of that today that we've been in, what they was talking about years ago, and we are still doing the same identical thing. You just impressed me so much, Rev, and your wife, your lovely wife. Today when you was doing your presentation, when you started talking about Dr. King and the history of the movement and your connection with his father and the movement and thing that they had during that period of time, how about just tell us a little bit in your own way why you all are here today and you're still on the battlefield and still doing things. So we are delighted to do this interview with you on the Dunham Report. So tell us a little something about what we are doing here today.
Well, I'm here today because I'm a friend of Zach Lyde's. I'm a friend of all of the NAACP folks in Brunswick, Georgia. I heard about this. I heard you were going to be here, and I wanted to come to make sure that this is not an all African American gathering, that there are those of us who support the freedom to meet, to gather, to talk with each other, to learn from each other, and that's what I'm doing here.
Well, I'm glad of that. You know, I'm a labor person, been involved in the movement for so long, how labor ties in with especially organized labor, with other organizations and all of those kind of things. And we are still on the battlefield with the A. Phillips Randolph Institute. We do a whole lot because we are connected with the labor movement as a whole. And the connection with, the key thing about this whole thing, that the history of Dr. King, and it's another individual that we hadn't even mentioned today, but he was the brain trust behind a lot of things happened during that period of time, and especially with Dr. King, and that was Bayard Rustin, who was a part of Mr. Randolph, and he was the one who really did a lot of things at that particular time with Dr. King and his speech writing and all of these other different things. So
I-
today here in Glennsville, and it's an incident just happened not too long ago before we got ready of fixing to leave, but it's some things that ain't quite right here. And we're gonna be motivating and getting information to the overall area and get people to come back here to talk about some things that's happening here in this area. What you think about that, if you want to?
If they meet next Saturday, I'll come back. If they meet the next Saturday after that, I'll come back. I'll come back anytime that I possibly can. And I'm glad you mentioned Dr. Ruskin. He was part of the brains of the whole movement. He was a philosopher, he was a thinker, and he was a writer.
Oh, yeah.
And he was a hero to me when I was in theology school because I knew about his writing and his thinking. And I'm so glad you mentioned him.
It's another.
And he would be here to be with us next Saturday.
It's another young man who came down from Savannah with me. I was looking for him, but I don't see him right now. But he sort of moved me a little bit when he was saying, when you was talking about the situation in
Forsyth County.
Forsyth County.
Yeah.
And then he was talking about that he was there.
Yeah.
As a young man.
He was
when
on
he was talking about.
He was on the bus that came with Hosea Williams, and I did not know him until today, and he didn't know us until today. I was thrilled to see him here and to get to meet him, and he was a part of a major movement in Forsyth County that changed the county somewhat.
Well, again, I was delighted and privileged to meet you and your lovely wife.
Thank you.
And very soon, we will be getting back, coming here again to talk about some more things and put all of this stuff together, organize it well, and let the overall people in this area know what's happening.
Right.
Because a lot of time we in a one location and things may be going pretty good where we live, but then we don't understand that right in the next county or not another area that things ain't going so well. So all of us working and fighting these things together because we have to continue the struggle and the fight.
Well, I'm going back to Glenn County, and I'm going to let people know when we're coming back here, and this time I'm going to bring some more people with me.
Well, thank you very much, because you said Glenn County, and I'm originally from McIntosh County.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I know McIntosh
right.
County.
Okay. All right.
We need all of us to stick together.
Anything that you would like to say, a few words to the camera before
Well,
we leave?
just one or two things.
Okay.
Speaking of labor, Bill and I both grew up in Birmingham, Alabama, and the labor movement was very big and very helpful to our families in the coal mines and the steel mills. And something has happened over the years, and the unions have been weakened, and that hurts everyone.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because it does. And that's another show that we can really have, just talking about unions, the weakness, and other kind of things that's happening right now with them. And because the union is still that voice out there for working people. And it's a whole lot more things that we cannot, number one, as another thing with organized labor, in the peak of this thing years ago, but it's decreasing somewhat. And that's another thing, that organizing is down, and we need to do more of that. And another thing is that this is the thing that they're talking about now, to introduce some laws to challenge that labor should be a civil right.
Right.
It should be in the book as a right.
Yes.
I grew
and all of these
I
other
grew up thinking that it was in the book.
Yeah,
right.
well, me too. But like you say, but this another thing is that we're gonna have to fight this some more, because it should be a law. It should be
Yes, it should.
embedded in the law, a part of the act dealing with civil rights, and it should be there.
Yes.
Think of how the organized labor movement in Georgia would upgrade the teachers.
Everybody.
But especially our teachers.
Yeah.
Our teachers go unappreciated, unpaid, and underpaid, and I hope we can help them.
Well, one organization which, it just luckily I'm a part of that organization, but then that's the Longshoremen's Union.
Oh yeah, do you know
Throughout
Richard
the United
Nixon?
States. Oh yeah,
Richard Nixon lives in Glenn County.
he has, yes. But throughout this whole United States, and especially East and West, but on the East Coast, I could talk about the East Coast even more than the West Coast, that we've been doing a lot of things. Of course, on the West Coast, and that's another thing, close and open shop and close shop,
Yes.
and right to work states and all of these things. So a lot we can talk about.
The student movement of seminary students from Morehouse, from Gammon, from the Presbyterian Seminary, and from Emory University Theological School. Our first speaker was Martin Luther King Jr., who was at that time 29 years old. Now, he was our first speaker. He had just returned from India, where he met with Mahatma Gandhi, and he gave a talk on nonviolent resistance, which I clung to for all these years, that you need resistance, and it needs to be nonviolent, but it needs to be active. And I remember that night he was asked by his father, Martin, why did you not mention Jesus? And Martin said, Dad, I was here to talk about Mahatma Gandhi, not Jesus. And we all laughed at the time. But also he suggested that we theology students gather together as a group with our wives, and if we had any children, their children, and meet once a month for our senior year. And he agreed and said he would be glad for us to meet in the basement of Ebenezer Church. And we met, and he and Coretta were there. Coretta was present with Dexter. And the main thing I remember about that meeting was a young African-American theology student from Morehouse said, Dr. King, I have a question. The question is this: if some white honky spits on my wife on the bus tomorrow, do you think I'm supposed to just take that instead of knocking the crap out of him? And Dr. King thought deeply and said, no, I'm not telling you that. I understand your deep feelings and your aggressive feelings. However, if you do that, you cannot be on my team. My team is going to be nonviolent. We're just getting started, but if you do that, we cannot use you, because we have to change this whole culture, this whole society, not just in one act, but in one great movement.